Jeannette Ward. Jeannette Ward, formerly of a few Fortune 500 companies, now of MJ Freeway and the Minority Cannabis Business Association. Welcome to Cannabis Economy. I'm your host, Seth Adler. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, our new YouTube channel with the handle Can Economy, that's two N's, and the word economy. After discussing personal and professional fulfillment through work, we discuss personal dealings with race and religion, which leads to a discussion on how the war on drugs set the stage for the MCBA's mission of providing equal access in cannabis. It's a great conversation. Happy to be on the Cannabis Radio Network and the Sexbot Comedy Co-op. Jeannette Ward, MCBA.
Horrible pet choice.
I mean, what are you getting?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough. But when they do love you,
Yes.
you feel so special. You feel chosen.
You feel chosen.
When they walk over to you and ask for a pet.
Well, Jeannette, I feel chosen every day. I'm one of the chosen.
Right.
I don't need a cat.
There you go.
Right?
See, the rest of us need the cat instead of Yahweh to choose it.
There we go. And y'all, thank you for the shout out.
You're
I
welcome.
do want to point out that I actually don't believe that, but whatever. As far as me is concerned, everybody can do whatever they want. Jeannette Ward
Yes.
of MCBA, of MJ Freeway.
That's right.
We've got your Amy Poinsett. We've got your Jessica Billingsley.
Mm-hmm.
We've got your Jeannette Ward. MCBA. We know Jesse Horton and the folks, right? And so you and I were talking the other day
Right.
about each other, to each other.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, and realized that there were maybe some differences that are similarities. And so I want to kind of get to that. But first, how long you been doing this? What happened? Who's your cousin? So let's start with, you're sitting there at CocaCola, right? Working at CocaCola.
Right.
Doing what specifically?
My last job at CocaCola was on the mergers and acquisitions team.
Uh-huh.
So I was flying all over the country, primarily selling parts of Coke's distribution business.
Okay. Oh, so the stuff, the real stuff.
The real
Meaning
soda.
this wasn't just marketing, because you were in that marketing.
I was. That was not my typical Coke job. I'd
There
been
we go.
doing communications and marketing.
Got it.
But I had a very varied career. I'd also done sales
Yeah.
and managed a big part of our sales business and managed all of our internal data acquisition for North America. So it was a pretty varied career at Coke.
Totally. So how do you get to distribution from data and marketing? Good question, right?
Yeah, I was primarily working on communications.
Aha.
So that was the fit for that
Got it.
mergers and acquisitions team.
Got it. What was your lesson from going around the country being the communications piece of distribution mergers and acquisitions?
Montana's gorgeous.
Yes, it is.
I learned that.
It is very
Beautiful
very
country.
beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places, at least in the United States.
Oh my, it's breathtaking.
I mean professionally, though.
I guess I learned
Yeah.
that it was time for me to move from corporate America.
Because? Why?
I had tried so many things at Coke, partly because I was just trying to find the right position that I would then feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
So I thought my first plan was to move companies. I moved from UPS to Home Depot to Coke. I thought if I just get to the right industry with the right culture, that'll do it.
And those aren't examples. You were at UPS, Home Depot, and then Coke.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then when I got to Coke, I said, okay, best version of a big company that you can find. And I really believe that. I still believe that. If you're going to go corporate, Coke's a great place. So then I said, okay, let me just keep changing jobs. I will find the job where I feel right.
Let me stop you there. What did you go to school for?
I went to, as an English major.
Oh,
and
that's not going to help.
I disagree.
With the writing, I guess, if you're in communications,
That's right.
Okay.
I got a degree in English and a master's in English, and I started off doing communications at UPS.
Okay.
And that moved into marketing and sales and then data acquisition, but within marketing and all kinds of stuff.
I feel like you probably could be a good salesperson if you wanted to be.
I think that's potentially true.
but I don't know if you want to be a salesperson.
I
right.
don't.
And this is what we're talking about.
Right.
So you're going from job to job to job. I could do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. I'm not getting fulfilled within these positions. It's not that I
Right.
can't do them.
Right.
It's not that I'm not having success with
Right,
them.
that's right. That's right. I had someone in HR say to me when I was saying I want to do a different job, she was like, but I don't understand. You're so good at this one.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the point.
It's not helping me.
No. That's, yes.
Right?
Exactly.
So take us, I mean, I don't mean for this to be a session, so to speak, but you'd go home and it would be what? I mean, what was missing specifically? What was it that wasn't being fulfilled?
I ultimately want to do good for the world.
Okay, that's a small goal. Where does that come from? Is that mom and dad? Tell us about mom and dad.
Well, my father worked for the city of Atlanta,
Okay.
Parks Department. My mother was a social worker, so it probably comes from my mother.
Right. She's helping people all day long. Your dad's helping people by way of trees and plants.
True.
Yeah.
True.
What
Yeah,
was
he
he doing
creates
for parks?
beautiful spaces. He managed parks. So I lived from Atlanta. He managed Piedmont Park, which is a
Oh.
big Atlanta park.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. So the mom, the social worker, dad, the parks, both around people, both managing people, both managing relationships.
Correct.
So she's solving each person's issues.
She is.
You think you need to save the world, damn it. Right?
Maybe saving the world is one starfish at a time, if you know that story.
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
maybe it's something bigger, but I needed to make a positive impact in people's lives somehow.
And doing communications for the distribution, mergers, and acquisitions, that's not it.
I mean, you can just hear that and know that's not it.
Yeah. You could buy the world of Coke, right? Are you familiar with that?
I'm making a face,
Yeah.
which doesn't work on the radio.
No, it doesn't. You gotta... But that wasn't going to be good enough either.
No.
You know, like having people appreciate a brand through some sort of emotional connection, that's not enough. That's not what we're talking about.
It's not enough in that particular instance because, I mean, quite frankly, I was beginning to get uncomfortable with high fructose corn syrup and other things you can't name in soda products. And it's not blaming Coke, it's processed, manufactured, packaged goods as an industry. I was beginning to get uncomfortable with that industry as a whole.
All of a sudden, it's not that I'm not just fulfilled personally with my position. I also now am looking at the product. This isn't the greatest product in the world as far as I'm concerned, so, right? Personally is what you're saying.
And I think those companies like a CocaCola or a Pepsi-Cola have so much power to do good because they have power. Like, what can you do with your buying power to change farming practices with corn? Okay, that's your number one ingredient in high fructose corn syrup. What can we do with corn farming and corn industry in the U.S. and environmental practices of how we do agriculture? You could do a lot of good with that power of that brand and your buying power.
Yeah.
But none of that, I didn't see any
You
of
didn't
that
see it.
happening like I wanted to see it.
So you're talking, I would imagine, were you talking to mom and dad about what was, your day-to-day and kind of I'm not pleased?
I was.
What was your mom's take on this?
If I give the honest answer here, this is the truth. So I did a brief stint where I thought I was going to go be a teacher, like a high school teacher.
Okay.
And I applied to Teach for America. I was very serious. I got in, I went to the little training, tell my mother about this, and these were her words. Tell her I'm going to be a teacher, and I've thought really long and hard about this and gotten feedback, and this was very sincere.
Yeah.
She says, what about Neiman Marcus?
That was her reaction to the teaching?
The first words out of her mouth.
And she means the department store.
I don't know if she thought it would go out of business if I couldn't afford to shop there, or...
Oh, she means she doesn't mean for next employment. She means that you like things from Neiman Marcus. Well, so this is an honest appraisal of the situation from your mother, it sounds like.
Yes.
So then I ask the same question, Jeannette. What about Neiman Marcus?
Well, I decided not to go teach because I could not end up doing
So
what I needed to do at Neiman Marcus.
Mom hit the nail on the head.
She did.
Okay. So whose cousin is Jessica?
Jessica's my cousin.
No, I'm sorry. Well, who's her aunt or who's her
my
uncle?
mother. So
Okay,
this
there
mother
we go.
we're talking about
Yes.
is her aunt.
Aha. Okay. And for those who don't know, Jessica Billingsley, she happens to be white.
She does.
Right.
And I happen to be half black.
Indeed. And so that would be from your father.
Correct.
I'm just doing the math here. So did your mother then say, after asking about Neiman Marcus, did she suggest Jessica's name? Or
She
what?
did not.
Okay.
She figured I would get on the right track there
Yeah.
and not go teach.
Okay, and she did. She was right about that. And then what
Yes.
happened after that?
I was still, things just work out, right?
Yeah.
So divine intervention. I had free time.
PTO, is that what we call it?
Well, I mean, I work a lot of hours. That's in my nature to be working.
Yep.
And so a 40-hour-a-week job, I feel like I've got free time. I could do more work.
Sure.
So I was consulting with Jessica on the side for MJ Freeway for our customers doing marketing consulting.
You were. For how
Yes.
long?
I did that for about 6 months.
Okay.
So take my big corporate marketing experience and MJ Freeway use that for our clients
Right.
for consulting services, having
Right.
me as the marketing consultant.
How'd that go?
I thought it went well.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot about the industry. I learned a lot about
What was your first take on the cannabis industry?
my first take. I went to MJ Biz, the November show, as a way to get to know the industry.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing new under the sun. Like, it felt a little bit like the National Association of Convenience Stores convention.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to NACS.
No, but I know what that is, and that was my first takeaway as well. Is like, oh, look at all of these regular business people.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, and it for a particular industry, so
Yeah.
it might have a particular look and feel, but it's just a conference.
Right.
Like, no one is green, like actually green.
Yeah.
No one's hair is on fire.
Nope.
No one's got 3 arms.
No,
It's
and there
regular
aren't even
people.
that many dreads.
No, there's really not. I mean, you would see the occasional, and it was more like, oh, wait, there's what I thought I was going to be seeing.
Exactly, 1 out of 1,000 or whatever. All right, and so then when did you turn to Jessica, or when did she turn to you to say, hey, why are we doing this part-time thing?
My mother knew it was coming. I don't know, some sort of mother-aunt intuition. But they offered me a job. I went to Denver to hang out with the company and meet other people, and they offered me a full-time job.
And you've been there full-time now, how long?
Almost a year, coming up on a year.
All right, how do you like it?
I love it.
We did the MCBA interview with the group, and I do want to talk about that later.
Okay.
I want to talk about what my reaction to you was, and really why we're talking right now. When you said that your cousin is Jessica. I said, oh, really? And because as you pointed out, you are half black. As I read it, as a New York Jew, you're a black girl. What do I know?
Right,
light, dark, I don't know.
Right.
Oh, really? And then I thought, as we were having this conversation over the phone, I said, you know what's interesting is that if I think about it, when I am in the room with somebody or in a conversation with somebody that doesn't know I'm Jewish, I get the same exact, oh, really?
Right.
And it doesn't mean nothing. They're saying something by saying,
Right. Absolutely.
oh, really?
Right. The reaction is
So what do you...
indication of something.
When, exactly. And because it just happened, actually, right before we started recording in here, kind of.
Yes, it did.
So what is your emotional take, right? Because we've got the Minority Cannabis Business Association. We're going to talk about what we're doing with that organization. What is your emotional, personal take? What does your mind do when someone says, oh, really?
It depends on who's saying it.
Uh-huh.
So
Does it, though?
it kind of does. So I know you.
Yeah.
And when you said, oh, really?
Yeah.
Sure, everyone's, oh, really? The initial point is, I assumed you were black, and now I know you're not.
Exactly.
Totally 100% black, which, by the way, I don't even know if I believe in race as a construct, but that's another story for another day.
Well, sure. I
But
think that's a longer conversation.
It is, but
Yeah.
for the purpose of this radio show, we'll just use black as if it's a real thing.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I'm 100% with quotation marks black in your mind until I tell you that I've got a cousin and she's white, and so I must be half white.
Right.
So there's a reaction of surprise no matter what.
Yep.
But for me, that doesn't matter because, so of course you're surprised. I look black, it's fine. We read things on their surface,
Fine.
and so I got it.
Yes.
I know you, and I know that your mind went to, that's fascinating, and let me break this down analytically and go
Exactly.
all like,
Let's talk about it.
let's get into some cultural issues. Yes!
Something to talk about.
I can totally
Yeah.
connect with that,
Yeah.
and I know that your curious intellectual
Right.
brain wants to go a good place in dialogue. Other times, people are not coming from a good place.
Right.
So it depends on the person what that means for me.
So that's fair, and thank you for assuming that I'm coming from a good place. As far as that other place, you just explained very well what your reaction was. You know me, at least a little bit, and you knew that it was an interesting thing, and let's talk. What about the alternative? What happens in your mind when you get that? When you get the, oh, really?
Gosh, it depends on who O'Reilly's,
Right.
but I think there are two camps. Whether it's coming from, and
Yeah, let's do it.
typically if it's coming from a white person,
Let's do that first. That's easier.
who's not purely intellectual curiosity the way that you were,
Indeed.
I think, I could be wrong,
Right.
but it changes their perception of me in a positive way because there's always a little bit of cultural stereotype attached to an African American, and if I'm half white, oh, you're more like me.
Oh, okay. It's safer.
It's safer, it's more positive,
Huh.
I'm more comfortable,
Yeah.
okay.
You're half better now, kind of thing.
Or just half more like me.
Okay.
But either I'm half better,
Yeah.
or I'm half more like you, and
Huh.
so you're more comfortable.
Does the interaction then change?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
Usually yes. Usually it's a softening of the shoulders and a relaxing.
You can see a physical difference in the way that the person is approaching you. Oh my God.
Yeah. Or it's well, I was going to be nasty and negative, so now I'll just be neutral.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. If it's an actual negative type
If it
situation.
started negative, then
Uh-huh.
they go neutral.
So then you are feeling more safe, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah. So I've
Right.
actually had a couple situations where I was like, okay, I might not get KKK'd in here now.
Right. Which is somehow in March, it's early March, but March of 2016, somehow we're talking about the KKK again.
It's so sad. I read the saddest, just New York Times or Wall Street Journal, someone did a survey of millennials and their perceptions of race.
Yeah, it's got to be the Times.
It was exactly, you're right. It wasn't the Wall Street Journal. It was exactly so it was the Washington Post or the New York
There
Times.
you go.
It was exactly the same as the prior generation and the generation before that.
It was. So there's no difference.
I was blown away.
Right.
There was improvement in racism. They were trying to say, are people less racist the younger we go in generations? And the answer from the survey was no. I couldn't believe it.
I can't believe that, as you tell me. And I literally cannot believe what's happening politically, but this is not that show. So we'll let that go.
But in the political dialogue right now, we're talking about the KKK.
It's amazing.
So you say, I can't believe we're talking about it. It's not you and me.
Yeah.
We're talking about it.
Right. It's literally headline stories. This is what we're dealing with. My goodness. Anyway, let's talk about then this other side here.
Okay.
Right? What happens there? It sounds like I was not anticipating that would be the more difficult one, but that's the more difficult one.
So what happens there on the other side, if it's a African-American person or a person of color, I get, or a black person really.
That's what we're yeah.
Yeah. I get one of two things. I either get, oh, that's why you're light-skinned with long hair, I'm going to hate you less from women.
From women.
God, I'm so sorry I'm saying this.
I'll hate you less from black women.
Because it's like, okay, you're that stereotype of the stereotype that now in 2016 we're not supposed to be in love with as a culture, light skin, long hair.
Right.
But you came by and honestly, your mother's half white, so I won't hold
It's
it
cool.
against you.
Got it. Okay. I got you.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. All right, so that's that.
The other half of it is, okay, you're kind of quirky and goofy, so now I understand why. That's that white half of you. It gives people a joke outlet.
I got you. Yeah.
That now they can dump anything of me in that's that half white box.
Okay. Right. You're crazy, just a crazy white girl, so it's fine.
Which is fine. I'll play that card if that's what we need to do.
And let me come to the table with my side of this. As far as Judaism, living in New York, I don't get it a lot, because people just know what a Jew is.
And all the various kinds,
Yeah.
Hasidic or not.
Sure.
I mean, that's New York.
We got everybody.
Right.
We got everybody in New York, as far as the Jews.
You have everybody.
We also have everybody.
Yeah.
That's true. When I get out of the coasts, let's say, it's a different thing. It's a, it doesn't come up, but then when it does come up, I get the oh really. And I don't have a difference between this kind of person, that kind of person, whatever. The Jews know I'm Jewish. The Jews usually, by the way, are the real Jews, if you will, in quotation marks, are disappointed with me being, kind of mostly only culturally Jewish.
Right,
You're ruining this whole thing.
Right.
That's the whole back to the chosen thing. You have it. You won the gold medal. What are you doing? You're not using it. So that's that. But what I do notice is there's one side of people that are don't care. Oh, I didn't know that, and also I don't care. That's fantastic. Congratulations. Next topic. Then there's other folks who really are going to take the opportunity to talk to the Jew about what do you do? So you don't eat bacon then, huh? You don't eat, and then it's like I'm a research project, and this is very fascinating to me, and I didn't realize that it was really happening. I've had a couple of incidences along the way, certainly nothing of import, of kind of negative stuff, but nothing of import really. But I usually don't even, it doesn't come to to the front of my mind. It's usually subconscious, these conversations.
Right.
But when I spoke to you, I said, that happens what I just did to you happens to me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it until we talked. So that's where I'm coming to the table. And now I want to go to the humor thing. And I've never said this. So let's see what happens.
Okay.
But when I joke around with white people, they either think I'm funny or they don't. And that's fine.
Because there's one or two options.
That's it. When I joke around with African Americans, there is that, either they think I'm funny or they don't. But I am the laugh coming from African Americans generally, this is a generalization, is usually I'm laughing because you're crazy. Like, I appreciate it. I'm with you. I love it. But you're insane. Like, in a positive way. It's all positive. But that crazy white girl thing is that I know what you're talking about. That was a very long way of saying I know exactly what you're talking about. So can you tell me what I'm talking about? What is that?
I think, I'm not sure why they do it to me, because
Yeah.
I'm half black, so
Right.
what's the deal? But for you, the
Yeah.
reason that it's like you're insane, come on in and join us.
That's exactly what I feel. Absolutely.
like we trust you, you're one of us, come on in.
Where do you think that comes from?
You know where I think it comes from with you, since I know you specifically, and your brand of humor, you speak the truth. The thing that's funny that no one will point out because we're all being too polite, or we don't know each other that well, or it's maybe a little rude, or whatever the reason, or even maybe it hasn't occurred to you, but once someone points it out, it's like, yeah, that's happening.
Right.
You speak the truth.
Aha.
It's funny, but it's the truth. And what African Americans are reacting to in my generalization here.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a guy who's going to tell it to me straight. He's going to speak the truth. He's going to be 100, which is, to teach everyone out there, means to be 100% honest and real and true.
Thank you, Larry Wilmore. I know exactly what that is now.
And that is a value of African Americans, if we're going to generalize, for people to be 100, for people to be truthful. So when we can spot someone who's truthful, who calls things like they are, we say, okay, maybe we can trust this guy.
So that's the center of it. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And that's more value. That's of complete and total value. Mm-hmm. And that is, and again, we are generalizing, but I can tell you generalizations about Jews,
Right.
We're all unbelievably good looking. You know that's not true.
I do know.
But generally speaking, there are generalizations about Jews that are accurate. There are generalizations about African Americans that are accurate. Keeping it 100 is one of those.
Right.
And I know that I sound like a moron when I say that, even though it's factually true, as you pointed out. Yeah. So that's what we're tapping into.
That's what it is.
But then how do you get that? It's almost like
I think it might be more about me. I think it might give me license. I think it's about me. This is a couch session. Should I lay down? I think it gives me the license to be the crazy white girl that I am.
well, you are a little wacky.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it gives me a way to be wacky and have that outlet, and then people can box it as she's half white, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can be myself because I am. Am I wacky?
Well, here's what I mean by that. You are a very good-looking person.
Thank you.
Okay. When a very good-looking person walks into the room, not smiling,
I do have the RBF.
yes, that's resting bitch face.
That's correct.
For those who don't know, hashtag RBF. I think everyone in the room, men, women, white people, black people, everybody, assumes who you are. No matter what, beyond black, beyond black,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Pretty girl it's a whole other thing. And then, if you, folks prove to you that you're all right with them,
Right.
then all of a sudden you start opening up, and then there are these layers of, a little bit wacky, like in a great way,
Yeah.
right? You know?
Yeah. And then people start warming up to the pretty girl with the RBF. Like it's necessary to warm people up because otherwise I'm pretty stone cold.
Meaning you think that you
Statue.
have to warm them up?
I think so.
Okay. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that no one knows who you are unless you let them.
Well, that's true of all of us.
Well, yes.
think?
But my point is, it's less easy to talk to Pretty Girl RBF
Right.
than
Oh,
it
yeah.
is anyone else in the room.
Hence why I'm still single.
There we go.
Well, it could be lots of other things, but at least that's a starter.
That's something. That's something there. Should we go down this path?
No.
Okay. That's a hard no for those listening. I think that we've made a little bit of headway here.
Yeah, I think we really have.
Right? There are definitely truths to what in general, generalizations to what people are thinking, what kind of sects of people are thinking, and there are truths to human behavior, and those two things overlap.
Yeah.
So if we can figure this much out in this one conversation, let's talk about what we're doing with Minority Cannabis Business Association.
Yeah.
And how we're trying to really eliminate race as an issue. Is that fair in the cannabis game?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's fair. There's a much more complicated way that we have to go about that.
How so?
So this is what makes race in 2016 so complicated. We need to eliminate race as an issue, but you can't eliminate race as an issue without taking race into accountability. And that's where people start to get all wrapped up and wound up. So let's take an issue like affirmative action, where people say, well, if race doesn't matter, then why do we have affirmative action programs? Because you're asking about race. The thing about it is race, because it's a construct, there's a long history of creating situations that put people of a certain color and income, quite frankly, at a disadvantage, and women and people who are LGBT. There's a history of putting those folks at a disadvantage to other people. And so in order to create a true level playing field, you have to be really thoughtful and mindful about how you put folks who are already at a disadvantage at an even level to folks who are not. And you could be talking about a number of different things, like I said, access to capital or race or gender or sexual orientation or religion. So there's lots of things to look at here, but you can't pretend like race or those things don't matter. You have to look at them and their history and create programs that create equality, which may mean taking race into account. So you eliminate race by first taking it into account along with all of its history.
Because it's not a level playing field in March of 2016.
No, and if we're talking, which we are, I would like to, specifically about the cannabis industry,
Indeed.
the level playing field is uneven in ways that are unique to this industry.
Go on.
So the war on drugs, any history of the war on drugs, and whichever drug you're talking about, we're talking about cocaine or crack or cannabis, but marijuana and cannabis in particular. When you look at the war on drugs, it was targeted at lower income urban centers. Well, who lives in lower income urban centers? African Americans. So whether you want to say it was about race or class, take your pick. The point is African Americans and Latino Americans got really hurt by the war on drugs. So hurt meaning that they got arrested at higher rates than white folks. They got harder sentences. They got fed time when white folks didn't. And it wasn't a case of there's a black man sitting in front of me, so I'm going to give him more time. But it was a case of we have laws that punish crack cocaine at a much higher rate than punishes powder.
Yeah.
Well, crack cocaine's cheaper, so poorer people use it. Right. I mean, like, who you're punishing those who don't have the means and the income, like, that doesn't make any sense. They're both using cocaine. Marijuana's the same way. I think the stats are that whites use it at 3 times higher rates than blacks, but blacks get arrested significantly more. Why is that? We're not actually using more. It's the way the laws are created and the way communities are targeted. Mm-hmm. So we have a group of people, African Americans in particular, who have been damaged by the rules that say this is illegal. Mm-hmm. Broken homes, loss of income, you can't even vote if you come out with fed time, so there's all this damage. And then we change our minds. We say this plant is medicine, it's amazing. Let's make it legal. But by the way, you've been doing this when it was illegal, so too bad for you. You can't get into the legal industry. Yeah. That's not fair. I've been playing with this toy and you didn't like it, but now you've decided you like it, and you're gonna take it away from me and tell me I can't get in. I can't no longer touch the toy. It's Cinderella at the ball, you know.
But she doesn't even get to go to the ball.
Her dress gets all torn apart by her stepsisters, and it was like, you didn't even like this before. Now I'm cobbling it together, and it looks good. I'm creating something that's working here. This medicine works. There's a viable market for it. You noticed that, and you're taking it away. You could spin it that way.
Indeed.
And so we're here as the Minority Cannabis Business Association to not let that happen. Right. Because we don't believe the cannabis industry is racist. We know cannabis industry people. This is a good industry.
These are good people.
These are good people. It's the laws that are being created by folks without the history or the education or the understanding. So we want to do the kind of advocacy work that puts the right laws in place to create an equal playing field.
While making sure that I think that minorities understand that this is a burgeoning industry, one that can employ them, and make sure that minorities understand that this is a place where you should own a business.
You should own a business, and I think it's important to talk about both of those things. Mm-hmm. First, owning a business. The other barrier to entry is how much it costs
now
to get into the cannabis industry. Now, in some states it doesn't cost much, but in a lot of states, I think New York was $100,000 to apply for a license.
Well, yeah, just right. Exactly.
Just to apply for a license for cannabis, and then you didn't get it back if you got rejected.
That's right.
Who has that kind of cash sitting around just to burn? So that and laws like that, New York's extreme example, but the $20,000 to apply for a license, I mean, the numbers are out there. If I need that much to apply for a license, who really has that kind of money in America, and thus who is the race and the gender of who's applying for cannabis license and getting into this industry? So that financial barrier is a really important one as well to change to level the playing field. And you look at a market like Oregon that doesn't have that kind of financial barrier, and there's amazing products because I think they've got more competition. Like competition is good for an industry. Let's lower those barriers to entry.
Totally. And that is why Colorado has so much success, is because it is completely competitive.
Colorado and Oregon are 2 great examples of open competition and how that's working well.
There we go. So what do folks need to do if they're listening to this as far as supporting the MCBA?
Easiest thing to do is sign up for our mailing list so you can stay informed. Tell us you want to volunteer, because we are working right now actively to gather volunteers. And if you just got really passionate and excited about this issue, give us your money. So you can join as a member and contribute as little as $25. And by the way, you get a lot of value for that. But if you can write those big checks, we'll take some other donors as well.
So big money is welcome, is what Jeannette Ward is saying.
Yes. It takes money to drive a movement. And I think you hear stories of movements in the past, the civil rights movement and other movements, and you don't see that. But people of all colors and all races and all religions banded together, and some of them brought their checkbooks.
Right. And those things happened, and now this thing.
This thing is the next thing.
This thing is the next thing. All right, final 3 questions.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm going to tell you what they are, and then I'll ask you. First question is, what has most surprised you in cannabis? The second question is, what has most surprised you in life? And the third question is, on the soundtrack, of Jeannette Ward's life? What is one track, one song that must be on it?
Ooh, that
Yeah.
one's fun.
Yeah.
What's most surprised me about cannabis?
Yeah.
Gosh. Okay. I mean, I'm just going to say it because I believe it. How much, I hope this doesn't sound totally kooky, but this is a cannabis show. Mm-hmm. Okay, so.
It's called Cannabis Economy. It
Right,
doesn't
okay.
get much more.
I'm probably listening to people who are at least somewhere in my same kind of thinking. I think this plant's going to save the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that may be strong. But if two ways, one, this is medicine. What they are learning about the endocannabinoid system, what Professor Meshullam learned in the 60s. But anyway, we're finally getting around to really spending some time with. The National Institute of Health said they think the endocannabinoid system could be kind of at the center of curing like all human diseases. And the one plant that is designed to attach to that system and help that system is cannabis.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like, duh. Let's go do something about cancer. Let's go do something about Alzheimer's. Let's go do something about multiple sclerosis. Let's go actually
Crohn's, colitis. I mean, the list starts there and goes on forever.
immediate brain trauma. I mean, goes on and on and on.
Epilepsy, right.
Amazing. So, I mean, and that's scaring potentially a lot of pharmaceutical companies. I mean, let's just say that because we have to know what the issues are so we can work to find compromises, work to find a place that gets us to a place where people are using this plant as medicine. So that surprised me, how much I love this plant, how much I believe in this plant, and how much I think that this is such a unique group of people in this industry right now who just really believe. There's a bunch of altruists. We're a bunch of altruists and rebels and activists.
There you go.
So we're also, I think, going to develop an industry, I believe, that's why I'm here, that's why I'm on the board of MCBA, develop an industry that does good in the world.
There you go. All right, so you do have big expectations.
I do.
We'll say that.
I do.
What has most surprised you in life?
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to admit this.
All right.
That vulnerability really is kind of the key to happiness, which Brene Brown said. If you've heard Brene Brown's TED Talk,
I have not.
because you're a man.
Okay.
All women know of this TED Talk. Brene Brown,
Yes.
vulnerability. Look this up.
Take us one level deeper just to make sure that
Basically, Brene says that vulnerability is, she's a social researcher. She's from Texas. She did all this social science research and said that the key to happiness, all happy people have one thing in common. It has nothing to do with their current life situation. They're happy no matter what. And why they're happy is because they understand how to be truly vulnerable. They understand vulnerability and what that means and how to express it. I'm deathly afraid of vulnerability, always have been.
Likewise, I don't like to really let go. That has always been an issue for me, and I think that that's what you're talking about.
And potentially the humor we have in common. I use humor to deflect,
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's much easier.
to not be vulnerable.
Exactly.
Bust out that humor.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about this. If I make you look at that, you're laughing. You'd have no idea what we were just talking
Yes,
about.
you totally forgot the thing you were trying to ask me that was going to make me be vulnerable.
And what's better is you like me more.
Right.
And I'm still not vulnerable. It's fantastic.
So, and honestly, cannabis helps me be vulnerable.
There you go. Okay.
Takes your defenses down, for me personally.
Well, sure. It brings you to the pulp of who you are.
But in a good way. I mean,
Yeah.
because someone may say alcohol brings your defenses down. They're not the same, so let's
No.
not compare them. I'm not defenses down as in I would make a bad decision. I never wake up in the morning and go with cannabis, what the hell did I do last night?
Right, yeah.
Hope no one learns about that. That's not what I mean. I'm able to be my truer version of myself
There you go.
in a way that's safe and works. And so vulnerability is what I've learned.
That's a beautiful answer.
I'm still working on it, though. Like, I've got friends maybe listening to this going, no, ma'am.
Well,
no, you're not.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
working on it.
Yeah, but you're past denial, right? So, I mean, come on. However many steps, we're at least, part of the way there.
I'm working.
Right? Mm-hmm. Soundtrack of Jeannette Ward's life. One track, one song, one tune.
It's Outcast.
Okay.
I'm holding on to memories like roller coaster handlebars tightly because I'm slightly off my rocker. So that's a line
Yeah.
of Andre 3000's
Yeah.
from one of his songs.
That is so good.
And
What song is it?
It's off of Quimini.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure the name of the song.
That's
it's
great,
CD
though.
era, so you skipped a track
Yeah,
number.
exactly. But that's great. One more time on that.
I'm holding on to memories like roller coaster handlebars tightly because I'm slightly off my rocker.
See, so as far as syllables go, that reminds me of a song from Cream, which is a band with Eric Clapton in it in the late 60s. And the line is, tiny purple fishes run laughing through your fingers and you want to take them with you to the heartland of the winter, which has no meaning whatsoever, unless it does, which I doubt. But this one that you point out, much more meaningful.
It does have some meaning.
So thank you, Andre.
Yes, for sure. If you were hearing this, thank you, Andre 3000.
And thank you, Jeannette Ward. I feel like this was a good conversation.
That was great.
There we go. All right.
Awesome.
See you on the other side.
Okay.
And there you have Jeannette Ward, our first MCBA spotlight. Obviously, an interesting conversation. Well, at least to me, I hope you thought so too. Very happy to be on Cannabis Radio Network and the Sexpot Comedy Co-op. Very appreciative of you listening, and hope you continue to enjoy